Is your inbox overflowing with replies you just can't keep up with? Worried you're missing leads and letting money slip through the cracks just because you can't reply fast enough? What if you could turn every cold email response into a booked call without ever writing another manual reply? That's not just possible, it's exactly what I do, using a single AI agent that handles my inbox for me. And just so you know, this isn't theory. I run cold outreach and lead generation for over 50 businesses, sending out millions of emails every month on their behalf. That means I'm on the front lines, personally handling the replies, every objection, every booking, every not interested, all day, every day. So when it comes to building systems that turn inbox chaos into booked meetings, I've had to figure out exactly what works at scale because my clients' results and mine depend on it. What you'll see in this video is the exact playbook I use to manage inboxes that would overwhelm most agency owners, and it's the same system you can use to book more calls without ever drowning in replies. Let's be honest. Cold outreach is changing. You can send thousands of emails a day with automation, but the second people start replying, it's chaos. Your inbox turns into a war zone, and if you're still handling replies by hand, you're not just losing your evenings, you're missing deals and leaving money on the table. But here's the thing, the people who know how to handle replies at scale, they're turning that chaos into booked calls while everyone else is drowning. So here's what you're getting in this video. I'm breaking down my entire playbook, the same process I use to turn every reply chaos into a booking machine. We'll break this down into 5 clear steps so you can follow along and build this for yourself as we go. First, I'll show you why most inboxes completely break down when replies start pouring in and why that problem gets worse the more you grow. Next, you'll see how I sort every single reply into one of 5 buckets so you never lose a lead or get overwhelmed, no matter how many responses you get. Then I'll walk you through how to trigger automated follow-ups for each of those buckets using proven templates that actually book meetings for you on Autopilot. And after that, I'll break down exactly how an AI agent can take over your replies, so you're only jumping in when there's a real opportunity and not wasting hours on noise. And finally, I'll take you inside my actual workflow live so you can see how it all works in practice and copy it step by step to get results yourself. If you want to go even deeper and shortcut the whole process, I've put together all my automation templates, reply sequences, and even a full walkthrough you can follow for your own business inside my school community. That means you don't just watch how I do it, you can actually download everything, plug it in, and start using it for your own agency or offers. I keep it updated as my system evolves, and you'll be able to ask questions or get feedback directly from me and the other members. So if you want to get everything working faster, just hit the link in the description and check it out. All right, let's dive in. We'll start with the one thing that breaks almost everyone the moment their cold outreach actually starts working, which is the inbox. Because no matter how many emails you send, what really matters is what happens after you get a reply. And if you don't have this first step locked in, nothing else you build on top will matter. The biggest shift in cold outreach right now, your inbox isn't just a to-do list anymore, it's the bottleneck that breaks most businesses as soon as their campaigns actually start working. Back in the day, you could send a few dozen cold emails, reply to everything by hand and keep up. Maybe it cost you an hour or two a week, tops. But now, automation has changed the game. Today, anyone can send thousands of cold emails a day with just a single click. It sounds great until the replies come flooding in. Let me ask you, ever open your inbox in the morning and just feel that instant knot in your stomach? Maybe you promised yourself you'd stay on top of every reply, but by noon that same day you've already lost track. How many leads do you think you've missed in the last month just because you couldn't reply fast enough? Picture this, it's like opening the floodgates on a dam. Instead of a steady trickle of replies you can handle, you're suddenly drowning in responses. And not all replies are equal. Some want to book, some ask questions, some are not now, and some want off your list, but they all hit your inbox at once. I saw this firsthand when I scaled from sending a few hundred emails a week to several thousand a day for my clients. What used to be a quick 10-minute inbox sweep turned into hours of sorting, responding, and tracking every single day. And if you don't have a system, you start missing the good leads, dropping the ball on follow-ups, and letting money slip through the cracks. In today's landscape, speed wins. The first person to reply, book, or follow up usually gets the deal. But if your inbox is a mess or you're replying manually, you lose momentum and the business goes to someone else. Every hour you wait to reply, your odds of booking that meeting drop significantly. I've seen people miss 5-figure deals just because they were slow to respond. The fastest agency wins the deal, not always the best one. And that's the part that nobody tells you. So if you're doing cold outreach at any real scale, whether that's for your own agency, a SaaS, or just booking more calls for your business, this is the new bottleneck to solve. If you miss it, You're not just leaving money on the table, you're actively getting outplayed by anyone with just a better system. This isn't just about keeping your inbox tidy, it's about winning the leads you worked so hard to generate. And if you're slow, manual or disorganized, you're getting left behind. But here's the relief. The wall of inbox chaos is not actually as messy or as complicated as it looks, because almost every single reply you get, no matter how different it sounds, falls into just a handful of categories. Once you see these patterns, suddenly handling replies goes from impossible to almost automatic. The next big shift in reply management is realizing that almost every response fits into one of just 5 buckets. In the old days, you'd open your inbox and treat every message as a unique puzzle, writing a custom reply each time. That's fine if you're getting 5 replies a week, but once your outreach scales, that approach breaks down fast. With today's volume, the new playbook is about pattern recognition and systemization. Think of your inbox like the back of a huge post office. Letters and packages are pouring in from every direction, and at first it looks like complete chaos. But behind the scenes, behind closed doors, everything's getting sorted into just a few big bins. It's only overwhelming if you don't know the system. I remember when I was handling replies for a dozen clients and spending hours every day writing individual responses. It felt like every conversation was different, but then I started keeping track and realized almost every reply fit into one of the same 5 patterns. And that's when inbox management finally got easy for me. Let's make this real. Here's what those 5 buckets look like in practice, and you'll probably recognize every single one of them. First, more information needed. This is the person who is interested but wants a bit more before moving forward. Sometimes it's a general "can you tell me more?" Other times it's a super specific question about how your service works for them, or maybe they just ask about your pricing, plain and simple. Either way, these leads are on the fence. They just need the right info to move forward. Second is ready to schedule. This is the reply we all want. Someone says, "Yes, let's set up a call." Sometimes they give you a list of times that work for them. Other times they just say yes and wait for you to send a booking link. Either way, you're one step away from a real meeting. Third is referred. Not everyone you email is the decision maker. Unfortunately, sometimes we mess up. In this bucket, they might forward you to a colleague, drop a name, or maybe just tell you should reach out to your head of growth. Sometimes they give you a direct contact. Other times it's just a nudge in the right direction. Fourth is follow up later. This one's easy to miss. You'll get replies like "not right now, but you can check back in a couple of months." These aren't dead ends, they're just delayed. If you handle these right, you're filling your pipeline for the future. And finally, lost. This is your classic hard no or unsubscribe. No need to spend any energy here, just close it out and move on to the next. When you realize 99% of replies fit into one of these 5 buckets, you stop overcomplicating your process. Suddenly, you can batch your responses, use proven templates, and even automate large parts of your follow-up without losing the personal touch. So if you're still stuck treating every reply like a unique case, here's what I do. Look at your last 100 replies, see how many fall into these 5 categories. Once you spot the pattern, you'll never look at your inbox the same way again, and you'll finally be able to scale without feeling buried. The best operators and fastest growing agencies aren't smarter. They just recognize these patterns and build around them. If you don't, you'll always be playing catch up. So knowing the 5 buckets is just the first step. Where things really get powerful is when you start automating your inbox, using those buckets to trigger instant personalized follow-ups. And this is where subsequences come in. Instead of missing out on maybes or letting warm leads go cold, you set up your system so every reply triggers the right response automatically. That's how you book more calls without ever having to write a reply by hand. The biggest unlock in cold outreach and also reply management right now, it's using automation to send the perfect follow-up for every reply so you never miss a booking even when you're asleep. In the old era, you'd manually reply to each person, maybe setting yourself reminders to follow up on maybes or not nows. But now, with tools like Instantly and N8N, you can build a system where every reply triggers its own tailored sequence, subsequences that keep the conversation alive automatically. Think of your outreach like a choose-your-own-adventure book, except it's for your inbox. Your initial sequence is the story everyone starts with, but the moment someone replies, they don't just get the same generic follow-up as everyone else. Instead, how they reply puts them on a unique track, a subsequence, customized to what they need next. Picture it like this. Your main outreach is that top row you see on screen, but as soon as someone replies, your system automatically routes them into a new path. If they want more info, like can you send me pricing or how does this work, they enter the more information subsequence. That triggers the right template, sends over your value breakdown or a case study, and keeps the conversation moving towards a booking. If they say yes, let's do it, they skip straight to the ready to schedule subsequence, focused on getting the call locked in, maybe with a calendar link or a quick confirmation. If they say not right now, check back next quarter, that's the follow up later subsequence. Your system reminds you to follow up at exactly the right time, so you never lose a warm lead. If the reply is, I'm not the right person, but you should talk to Sarah, they're dropped into the referral sequence. Now your system handles the outreach to Sarah, follows up for her contact details, or starts a new intro thread. Every row in this diagram is one of those subsequences. Every box is a step or an email pre-mapped out, so no matter what reply you get, your system is doing the heavy lifting and no one ever falls through the cracks. Manual follow-up isn't just slow, it's unpredictable and you're guaranteed to miss deals. But with subsequences, every reply gets the right nudge at the right time, even if you're busy, on vacation or sleeping. So you go from fighting fires to running a real predictable system. If you're doing any kind of cold outreach, whether it's for your own business or a dozen clients, the opportunity here is simple. Map out your 5 buckets, decide what the best next step is for each one, and set up an automated subsequence for every scenario. This is how you scale and keep things personal. Agencies and founders who master this are booking way more calls and closing way more deals without working any harder. If you skip this, you'll always be stuck playing catch up while others let these systems do the work. But seeing is believing, I understand. So let me actually show you so you can see every piece in action and build it for yourself. Because this is where the magic really happens. It's not just about sending emails or setting up rules. It's about having an AI agent working behind the scenes 24/7, making decisions and running your inbox for you. So let's talk about what really changes the game here, because the new playbook isn't about working harder or just throwing a VA at your inbox. It's about using AI to make decisions for you 24/7 so nothing slips through the cracks. Back in the day, if you wanted to scale your reply management, you just hire more people. But let's be honest, humans get tired, they get distracted, or they simply make mistakes. Now with AI, your inbox is watched all the time. Every reply gets processed, labeled, and routed to the perfect next step instantly. Let me actually pull back the curtain and show you how my workflow runs in the background. It starts the moment a reply hits your inbox. Doesn't matter if it's 2 p.m. or 2 a.m. Instead of relying on keyword rules or having a VA read everything by hand, the AI reads the meaning of each message. It knows whether someone's asking for more info, saying yes, referring you, or brushing you off. Then the AI applies a label. Think of it as dropping that reply into the right bucket instantly. That label automatically triggers a workflow in the background. It adds them to the right subsequence, so the next set of template messages start going out right away. There's zero touch, zero delay, no waiting for business hours, no mistakes, no drop balls. Everything happens the moment the reply hits your inbox. Now compare that to doing this manually or hiring a virtual assistant. Someone still has to read every reply, guess what the lead wants, maybe copy and paste the right follow-up. That slows you down, leads to mistakes, and as soon as your volume goes up, it just falls apart. This, what I showed you on screen, is how agencies running hundreds of thousands in pipeline every month are scaling, because AI never gets tired, it never misses a lead, and it never forgets a follow-up. When you build your system this way, you only jump in for the real opportunities. The AI agent does the triage, the routing, the follow-ups, so you can actually spend your time closing deals and not sorting your inbox. And if you want to see exactly how each piece connects, I'm going to break down the full setup step by step so you can build this system for yourself. Let's walk through the workflow note by note so you can literally copy every part of my automation and make it work for your own inbox. All right, this is where we get hands-on. I'm going to walk you through the entire workflow note by note so you can see exactly how each part fits together and build the system for yourself. Feel free to pause, rewind, or even build along as you go. You'll be able to copy every piece of my setup step by step. So this workflow is kicked off using a webhook. To set the webhook up in Instantly, it's pretty simple. Just go to your settings, go to webhook integrations, and set it up to trigger it whenever a reply is received to all of your campaigns or any of your campaigns or a specific one. Once a reply is received to any of your outreach, what happens next is using the Instantly API, we call in or we retrieve the entire thread into the workflow. The reason we want the entire thread is easy because we want to give the LLM all of the context it might need to label the response correctly. Since we're pulling in all the unread emails all the time, what we want to do next is label the thread as read so we don't pull it in again in the future. Marking it as read is simply another API call, which is very easy to set up if you read the API documentation. Then what we do is we pull in the lead details from our CRM, including the instance lead campaign ID. We need the instance lead campaign ID because we want to get the lead ID, and a lead can be in multiple campaigns if you reuse your lead list or if you're running outreach for multiple clients. Without the campaign ID, I would pull in myself, Clarence Knapp, multiple times in different campaigns with different IDs, which would make it almost impossible to label me correctly, and it would just be based on luck. And if we can't label me correctly, we can't put me into the correct subsequence of that campaign, meaning we can't automate or replies at all. Now that we have the email thread, the leads information from your CRM, and the correct lead ID, what we do next is we filter the email thread so it's less of noise that is inputted into the LLM. Then the large language model is tasked to order and sort the email thread completely. And I also wanted to identify how many replies there have been. So let us quickly look at the output. So you can see it was a very easy one. There was just some initial outreach from me, and there was a reply also from myself because I spoofed this to show you guys. So the lead reply count is only 1. Why is this important to identify the lead reply count? Well, in my opinion, if someone has replied for a second time, so let's say you had your initial outreach, someone responded asking a question or asking to set a meeting. So you sent a response automatically using this workflow, and then someone responds again. That lead is, in my eyes, very valuable, and you don't want to risk messing it up by letting it go through the automation again. So you want to hand it off to a human, to your VA or to yourself. So what I do once someone replies for a second time to the same thread is I get a notification in Slack to check my Uni inbox, to check my mail inbox, look at the email myself and respond. 9 out of 10 times when someone has responded for a second time, they are open to schedule a meeting. So they are valuable to me, and I want to make sure that I am the one responding to that email to make sure it all goes correctly. And once the email is sorted and we verified there's only been one response to the email or the email thread then gets labeled using the following prompt. As already discussed in this video, there are 5 possible categories. There is more info needed, there is ready to schedule, there is referred, there is follow up later, and there is not interested or lost. And then there is a 6th one for those who might be confused. It's called miscellaneous. Let's say someone would give a totally random reply to your outreach. You don't want them to be labeled in any way and added to a subsequence for you to give a response back if there won't be an appropriate response, because that could lead you to be marked as spam and hurt your deliverability in the long run. So what do we want to do in the case the email thread gets labeled as miscellaneous? We once again want to hand it off to a human. Might be you, might be your VA, so you can look through it. Might be something completely random, but it's just I feel safe. Now, what I haven't done up until now is go into the email thread. So the email thread was as follows. So my initial outreach was towards a recruiting agency or a recruiting firm. And then the response that I wrote back myself is, sounds like an interesting offer. Send me over your booking link so I can schedule a meeting when I have time. So obviously the email thread should be labeled ready to schedule. Let me double check. There we go, ready to schedule. So it's sent down the appropriate route accordingly. What happens next, and you can see it's almost the same 3 steps for every of these routes, is that first of all, the lead gets duplicated and put into another list, a prospect list. Why do we want to split them out? Well, let's say you have 50,000 leads in your lead list. You might miss over or you skip over someone once you scroll down. And if you duplicate them and add them to a prospect list, which would be a much shorter list, you can easily keep track of what you left off, where you're missing something, or who's ready to schedule in. What happens next is the reply is recorded. In cold outreach or doing cold outreach, it's super important to look through your replies that you get to your initial outreach. There might be questions that pop up all the time. There might be things in your outreach which offend people or people don't like, which they will respond to you and let you know. All those things you can tweak. You can maybe tweak your offer if your offer doesn't get enough responses or there are questions all the time about it. It's just very important to record all of the replies you get to your initial outreach. It'll save you in the long run, and it's the only thing you can actually really use as invaluable data to improve your copywriting. So once those logistic steps are out of the way, so we've duplicated a lead from our lead list to the prospect list, and we've recorded the replies so we can look through them once a week, once every other week, you name it, depending on how much volume you send. It's now time to determine the subsequence of the subsequence, if that makes sense. Because if someone's ready to schedule, there might be two ways. They either send you over no times, just say, yeah, send me over a calendar link, or yes, I'm ready to book a meeting, or sound interesting, hit me up when you have time. And there's the option where they send over sometimes. Let's say they send over, okay, let's schedule a meeting for next Wednesday. In both of those cases, you want to send out or return them or reply to them with a different template, obviously. So what we do then is we task the AI to determine what kind of ready to schedule reply this is. Well, in this case, the person did not send over any time. So it is labeled ready to schedule no time, meaning it gets this email template you see here in red. These subsequences of subsequences you have also for more information needed and for referred. For more information needed, I've identified 3 subsequences, so 3 extra groups. There is the general question, there is the specific question, and there's the pricing question. The general question is when someone just asks you to send over whatever you offered in your CTA. Might be a loom, might be a case study, might be a one-pager, you name it. The specific question is whenever someone has a specific question about your process, about your offer, about your agency, about you, whatever. What we then do is, because those questions need a specific answer, which can't be templated, we use the AI, the large language model, which has the data available about your offer and about your agency, to craft a very short, few word only response, which we can then input into the template, which would be inputted or placed with the placeholder LLM output, and then sent as a reply. If you would have to do this manually, this would cost you 10-15 minutes for every question you get. And let me tell you, if you send thousands of emails a day, you get a lot of questions. Then for the pricing one, it's very obvious. A lot of people ask about pricing. I think it's probably the most asked question whenever you're offering someone something over cold email. You don't want to go into the pricing, because if you give the pricing without the context, they'll never get back to you. Trust me, I've tried it more than once. So what you want to do is be kind of fake. Say, okay, the pricing depends on the project, so let's book a call so we can dive into how much it would cost for you. As you understand, this one can be easily templated, and we also have a subsequences to follow up. But for this example, I decided to try or show you guys the ready to schedule route, where someone does not send over sometimes, and you get the general idea. What then needs to happen is, once it's determined into what kind of subsequence of the subsequence the reply falls, in this case, the ready to schedule no time given, the lead of the, or the label of the lead needs to be updated, which is why we needed the lead label ID or the lead ID earlier on. So what we do is, using the lead email address and the interest value we have, which is just the value that is corresponding with the lead label we've created in Instantly, we can update the status of the lead in the campaign in Instantly. Now let me visualize that for you, because the way I explained it might make little sense if you don't have a complete understanding of what I'm referencing to. So what happened at the end of this workflow is that my lead label's status got changed to ready to schedule no times given. So if I go to Instantly, there we can see myself at the bottom. So my label is now ready to schedule no times given. What then happens is an automation is triggered in Instantly, which adds the lead, in this case myself, to a subsequence. The subsequence is the ready to schedule no times given one, and that automatically sends out the first email. And when someone doesn't reply, 3 days later it sends out email 2. And if then someone doesn't reply again, it just sends the final email. So not only the reply is automated, but also the follow-ups are automated. It might be a bit confusing what you see here, but this is called liquid syntax. If I now click preview, you can see what has happened. So all of this code, what you see here, just changes to the next day and the day after, so the 2 next business days. I'm recording this on a Sunday, so it will be Monday or Tuesday. If you would record this on a Friday, it would still be Monday or Tuesday. Offering people days to schedule, as well as a calendar link, has proven to me to lead to the highest conversions. But alright, that's the full system. Every node, every step, all connected with this in place. You're not just sending more emails, you're turning chaos into booked calls automatically at any scale. Now let's zoom out for a second. What you just saw is the full playbook for turning cold email chaos into booked calls on Autopilot. This isn't a generic hire a virtual assistant and hope for the best advice. It's the real system that actually scales. So let's walk through the moves we covered. First, you learned why reply chaos is the new bottleneck for anyone running serious cold outreach and why speed and structure matter more than ever. Second, we broke down every reply into 5 simple buckets. That pattern recognition isn't just a time saver, it's how you get control and clarity even when your inbox explodes. Third, we built automated subsequences for every bucket, so every reply triggers a proven follow-up without you lifting a finger. Now, maybes turn into meetings and nobody slips through the cracks anymore. Fourth, you saw how the AI agent actually runs the show in the background, analyzing, labeling, and routing replies in real time, so you only step in for the deals that matter. And finally, I walk you through my exact setup, node by node, so you can copy it for yourself and scale this without ever drowning in manual work again. If you want to build a real lead engine, not just play the volume game, this is how you win. Speed, systems, and zero guesswork. Every reply gets handled, every opportunity gets followed up, and your inbox finally works for you, not against you. And the best part, this isn't stuff you'll find in a basic cold email course. This is the system I use, my clients use, and it's the difference between barely keeping up and closing more deals than you thought possible. Now, if you're serious about scaling with AI, not just booking more calls, but building a lead engine that runs itself, I built my entire course and community for you. Inside, you'll get the full automation workflows you saw today, plus the latest templates, checklist, and deep dive tutorials for every part of cold email. But more than that, you'll get step-by-step systems for sourcing leads, personalizing at scale, and actually turning replies into revenue, so you're not guessing and you're not doing it alone. The promise is simple. If you want your calendar full of qualified calls every week and you want to build it smart way using automations that compound as you grow, click the link in the description and join us inside. You'll be able to ask questions, get live feedback, and connect with a network of founders who are already running this playbook. So if you're ready to stop firefighting and start scaling with predictability, join me inside. I'll see you guys in school.